Even the fog felt like it was watching her. Lady Beatrice sat in the dock, hands folded, face expressionless, no movement, no words. The judge entered. Gavel hit wood. Silence, he said. The prosecutor stood, tall, lean, confident. He faced the jury. She murdered her husband, he began. 3 months after marriage. Poison. Arsenic. He pointed at her. She had motive. They argued often. She had opportunity. She prepared his meals. She read books on poison. She had access. A juror shifted. Another wrote notes. The prosecutor continued. She showed no grief. She watched him die. Gasps in the room. Lady Beatrice stayed still. The maid was called. She spoke softly. He was sick before. Looked pale. Didn't eat much. The butler followed. He complained of pain, mostly stomach. 4 days before death. The toxicologist spoke next. Arsenic confirmed. Lethal dose? Poirot leaned slightly, eyes focused, arms crossed. The prosecutor held up a book. Toxicology, he said, found in her room. Highlighted sections. Arsenic dosage. Lady Beatrice blinked. Once. Nothing more. Hastings watched her. Poirot whispered, "No fear, no guilt." The prosecutor continued. Dinner party. 6 guests. Fine wine. Roast lamb. Sir Hugh collapsed. Vomiting, gasping, dead within minutes. The judge looked down. Defense. Defense lawyer stood. She shook her head. No statement yet. The judge nodded. Court adjourned till morning. He struck the gavel. 2 guards moved. Lady Beatrice stood. They walked her out. Hastings leaned in. "What do you think?" Poirot didn't respond. The crowd began to leave. Journalists scribbled. Reporters whispered. Noisy hallway outside. Poirot stayed seated. Eyes fixed on the empty dock. Face calm. A constable approached. "Shall I escort you out, sir?" Poirot waved him away. Still silent. Hastings stood. Poirot remained seated. The judge left the bench. Clerks gathered papers. One juror looked back at Poirot. Poirot looked forward. He touched his cane. The prosecutor packed up, nodded at Poirot. Poirot did not respond. Hastings looked uneasy. He glanced at Poirot. Poirot still didn't move. Poirot spoke softly. "This does not fit." Holloway Prison smelled of metal and misery. Poirot entered the room. Hastings followed. The guard stepped aside. Lady Beatrice sat at the table. Wrists free now, hands still, back straight. She nodded. "Monsieur Poirot." He nodded back. "Madame." Hastings sat. Notebook ready. Poirot adjusted his cuffs. "I come to listen," he said, "not to accuse." She showed no emotion. "I didn't kill him." Tone flat. Poirot leaned forward. "You deny everything?" "Yes." One moment he was speaking. Next, he collapsed. Pain, gasping, convulsing. Then, still. "Describe the dinner," Poirot said. She nodded. Once. 12 guests. Main course was lamb. Wine flowed. Hugh was in high spirits. "Anything odd?" Hastings asked. "Number until he fell." "How did others react?" Poirot asked. "Panic, shouting. Some stood frozen." "And you?" "I stood. I called for help." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "You stayed composed?" "I had to be." Hastings wrote. Poirot asked, "Were you close with him?" "We were different, but I cared for him. We argued, but nothing beyond words." "Financial issues?" "None. I brought wealth into the marriage." Poirot folded his hands. "Books on poison were found." "They're part of my collection," she replied. "I study rare subjects." "For fun?" "For knowledge." Hastings asked, "Did you prepare his food?" Number kitchen staff did. "Did you see him before the meal?" "Yes, he was well." Poirot watched her face. No twitch, no hesitation. Did you see the moment he changed? Yes, he choked mid-sentence, gripped the table, collapsed. Did you move toward him? Number 1 froze. Poirot nodded, slowly. You froze, he repeated. His eyes rolled back, she added. I'll never forget that. Poirot looked down. Was he a good husband? She hesitated. Then, he tried to be. But he wanted control. I resisted. Poirot stood. Merci, madame. She remained seated. Will you find the truth? I intend to, he said. Hastings stood. Poirot turned to the guard. We are done. They left the room. The door closed behind them. Poirot spoke low. She isn't grieving. Hastings looked puzzled. Poirot added, She's afraid. The long table still remembered the scream. Poirot stepped into the dining room. Hastings followed. The butler stayed behind them. Who cleaned after the dinner? Poirot asked. The staff, next morning. Anyone touch this table since? No, sir. Poirot walked to the head of the table. Here? Yes. Sir Hugh sat there. Poirot stood still. He examined the chair, checked under the seat. Nothing. Hastings looked around. What are we expecting to find? Poirot ignored him. He moved along the table's edge. One hand brushed the wood. His other held the cane. He stopped. This table, original to the house? Yes, said the butler. Custom built? I believe so. It's been here for decades. Interesting. Poirot tapped the surface. One tap at each section. Steady. Repeating. Hastings watched, said nothing. Poirot leaned lower. He examined the inner edge of the table. His fingers pressed a carved corner. No movement. He crouched, examined the legs, pressed the side. Nothing. He stood, walked to the opposite side, repeated the process. Still nothing. Poirot looked at the butler. Was this table used daily? Number only for formal dinners. And that night? It was set early. Silver, glassware. Everything was prepared by 4 o'clock. Who supervised? I did, sir. No interruptions? No? Poirot nodded. He stepped back, stared at the table again. Long table, old wood, heavy base. He tapped again, this time softer, focused. A dull note sounded at one spot. He stopped, tapped again, same sound. He bent down. His cane pointed under the table. A small groove, very narrow. He knelt, pressed the groove. Nothing. Poirot stood. Something is wrong with this section. Hastings came closer. What do you see? Poirot pointed. Feel here. Hastings bent, touched the wood. It's smoother. Yes, Poirot said, smoother, and here... He tapped with the cane, a faint difference in sound. Poirot stepped back. Built-in mechanism, perhaps. Hidden drawer. Possible. But why in a dining table? Poirot answered without looking, to deliver something unnoticed. Hastings paused. Poison? Poirot didn't reply. He placed his hand on the surface, pressed slowly, each finger along the edge. No movement. Poirot looked at the butler. Who set the head of the table that night? I did, sir. Alone? Yes. No one else touched it? No. Thank you, Poirot said. He paced back again, focused on the same spot. Poirot raised his cane, tapped once more. He said softly, There's a seam. Lady Margaret didn't blink, not once. Lady Margaret sat upright, chin raised, hands folded, face stern. Poirot entered the room. Hastings followed. They did not sit. Lady Langston, Poirot said. She nodded once. I'd like to speak of your son. I assumed so. You were present at the dinner. I was. You saw his collapse. Yes. Hastings opened his notebook. Poirot continued. Tell me what you saw. She adjusted her posture. He was cheerful, talkative. He drank wine. Then he stopped. He froze, eyes wide. He gripped the table. Then his throat. He collapsed. No one else showed symptoms? No. Did he say anything? No. You blame Lady Beatrice? Yes. Why? She never belonged here. She mocked our customs. She challenged him constantly. She embarrassed him. Is that motive for murder? She was reckless. She hated his rules. She wanted control. Poirot asked, "Did you see her serve anything?" No, but she watched him, watched closely. Did you hear her speak after the collapse? She called for help, then stood still. Did you speak to her afterward? Yes. She denied. Involvement. Poirot paused. And you believed her? No. She's too calm, too clever. Hastings leaned in. Did she ever argue with Hugh in front of you? Many times. She laughed at him. Disrespected him. Poirot said, "But you have no evidence?" No. Only instinct. He stepped closer. You said he grabbed his throat? Yes. You're sure? Absolutely. Was he gasping? Yes. Struggling to breathe. And she watched? Yes. No attempt to help? None. Poirot looked at Hastings, then back to her. Madame, did anyone else argue with your son recently? My other son, she said, but nothing serious. Edward? Yes. Was Hugh aware of Edward's financial issues? Yes. He forgave him. Poirot asked, Did you? I disapproved, but I kept out of it. Do you manage household affairs? No. That was Hugh's role. Did you trust Victor Grayson? Yes. He handled legal matters. He was reliable. Any debts? I wouldn't know. Poirot stared. You said he grabbed his throat. She nodded. I remember clearly. It was sudden. It was violent. And it was the last thing he ever did. Edward laughed with dry eyes. Always a dangerous sign. Poirot entered the study. Edward Langston was by the fire. Brandy glass in hand. Tie loose. Eyes tired. Detective, Edward said. Poirot nodded. Hastings remained silent. Your brother's death, Poirot began. Tell me what you saw. Edward took a sip. Nothing unusual. Dinner was normal. Then he dropped. You didn't approach him? No. Mother did. Then Beatrice. Then panic. Did he speak before collapsing? Mid-sentence. He froze, face pale. Then he dropped his glass. Then silence. Poirot stepped closer. You and Hugh. Were you close? Edward shrugged. Sometimes. He was the golden one. I was not. Did he support you financially? Sometimes. He knew I had debts. Cards? Yes. And bad friends. Did he threaten to cut you off? No. He didn't care enough. Poirot turned to Hastings. Note that. Hastings nodded. Were you at the estate the day before his death? Yes. I stayed 2 nights. Did you visit this room at night? Edward paused. Yes. Why? I needed to look at the ledgers. I had reasons. Which reasons? To see how bad things really were. Poirot walked to the desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a ledger. Red markings, multiple entries circled. You used these books? Yes. Who else knew? Maybe Grayson. Anyone else? Not sure. Poirot flipped pages. Withdrawals? Yes. I borrowed from the estate. Without permission? Edward looked away. Yes. Hastings asked, How much? A few thousand. Nothing compared to what Hugh had. Poirot raised an eyebrow. Enough to worry him. Maybe. But he wasn't angry. He said he'd fix it quietly. Poirot closed the ledger. You altered numbers? Yes. But I kept track. You were afraid. Of discovery? Yes. Edward sighed. I knew it would catch up. But not like this. Poirot leaned forward. Did you poison him? No. I drink too much. But I'm no killer. You had motive. Doesn't mean I used it. Did you know about the secret drawer? No. I barely know how that table works. Poirot nodded. You were desperate. Yes, but not that desperate. Would Grayson benefit if Hugh died? Edward hesitated. He handled all the estate dealings. He knew more than I did. Would your situation improve if Hugh was gone? Temporarily. Edward looked up, voice low. I didn't need to kill him. He paused. Unless someone else thought I might. Amelia's apartment smelled like lavender and regret. Poirot sat. Hastings remained standing. Amelia Thornton faced them. She looked pale, eyes swollen, hands clasped. You knew Lady Beatrice? Poirot asked. Yes. Since school. You were close. Yes. She was like a sister. You also knew Sir Hugh. She hesitated. Yes. How did you feel about him? He was admirable, kind, polite. Poirot tilted his head. Only that? She looked down. I cared about him. Quietly. Did he return the feeling? No. He never knew. Hastings wrote. You were at the dinner? Yes. Where were you seated? Near the center, 3 seats away from Hugh. Did you notice anything unusual? No. He was laughing, raising his glass. Then it happened. Describe it. His body jerked. He coughed hard. He dropped the glass, then grabbed the table, then his throat, then the floor. You didn't move? No. Everyone froze. Did you see Beatrice? Yes. She stood quickly. Did she speak? She shouted his name. Then nothing. Poirot leaned back. You believe she did it? Amelia shook her head. No, she isn't capable. Why not? She loved him. In her own way. Even with the arguments. Yes, they both were stubborn. Did you ever feel jealous? Yes, but I never hated her. Did you ever think of taking her place? No, that was never possible. Poirot asked, Did anyone else know your feelings? No, I kept them private. Did Hugh ever confide in you? Only casual things. He was formal with everyone. You never saw him angry, only once. Over estate issues. Grayson, yes. Something about a delay in paperwork. Did Hugh trust Grayson? I think so. But not fully. Hastings asked, What about Edward? They weren't close. Hugh tolerated him. Poirot nodded slowly. You say you never hated Beatrice. Never. She was better than me. I accepted that. Did you cry? No, not at first. Poirot looked at her carefully. You're holding something. What is it? She hesitated, hands clenched. I was relieved, she said. Just for a second. Not proud of it. Her voice cracked. I never forgave myself for feeling relieved. His hands were clean. Too clean. Dr. Sinclair opened the door. Poirot entered first. Hastings followed. The doctor gestured to chairs. They remained standing. You treated Sir Hugh? Poirot asked. Yes. Recently? 3 times in the last month. What symptoms? Mild indigestion. Fatigue. You prescribed medication? Yes. A simple tonic. Ingredients? Peppermint. My carbonate Poirot didn't write. He just watched. Did you ever visit the Langston estate? No. All consultations were here. Was Hugh worried? No. He called it stress. You didn't test him? No. No signs of anything serious? Hastings asked. No suspicion of poison? None. His symptoms were common. Did you examine the body after death? Yes. Only briefly. The coroner handled the rest. You read the toxicology report? Yes. I was surprised. Poirot stepped closer. You never prescribed arsenic? No. I don't keep it in my practice. Ever? Not once. You knew Hugh personally. Only as a patient. You met Beatrice? Twice. What was your impression? Quiet. Intelligent. Did they argue? Not in front of me. Poirot folded his arms. You're very controlled, Doctor. I have to be. You didn't miss the signs? I treated what I saw. Poirot looked around. His gaze stopped on a locked cabinet. What's in there? Controlled medicines. Nothing dangerous. You don't keep poisons? No. I send prescriptions to the pharmacy. Hastings asked. You ever had conflict with Sir Hugh? No. He paid on time, always polite. Any financial struggles of your own? I live modestly. Poirot moved toward the cabinet. May I look? No, Sinclair replied. Patient confidentiality. Poirot stepped back. Do you think someone poisoned him gradually? Yes, based on what I've read. Could you miss that? It depends. Small doses are hard to detect. You wouldn't question recurring indigestion? I see it daily. Most cases are diet or nerves. Poirot nodded. And if someone used poison disguised as symptoms, I'd call it clever. You wouldn't feel responsible. I treated the symptoms. That was my role. Poirot paused. You're very calm. I am. No guilt? No. No curiosity. Only clinical. Poirot glanced at Hastings, then back at the doctor. You knew what arsenic poisoning looks like? Yes, but he didn't match the classic signs. Poirot moved to the door, stopped, turned. He looked directly at Sinclair. It was indigestion, wasn't it? The drawer slid open, with a sound like a sigh. Poirot entered the dining room. Hastings followed. The butler stood aside. No one has touched the table? Poirot asked. No, sir. Poirot moved to the head of the table, same spot as before. He crouched, cane in hand. He tapped, listened, tapped again, same dull note. He pressed the seam. Nothing. He shifted slightly, pressed lower, still nothing. He stood, adjusted his grip, used the cane handle, tapped under the lip. A faint click. Poirot paused. He pressed again, then pulled. A drawer opened, silent, small, hidden in the leg. Hastings stepped forward. Well? Poirot pointed. Look. Inside, fine white powder. Not much, just residue. Poirot took out a handkerchief, wiped the edge, held it up, said nothing. Hastings leaned closer. Is it? Yes. Poirot examined the hinges. Newer than the wood. Fitted precisely. Crafted with care. This was added later, he said. Not part of original design. Used recently? Poirot nodded. The powder is fresh. He closed the drawer, tapped again, then opened it once more. Same quiet slide. Hidden, Poirot said. Visible only to someone who knows. He turned to the butler. Who cleaned this table last? I did, sir. Did you notice anything unusual? No. Who built this table? It's been here for years. No idea who made it? No, sir. Poirot crouched again, examined the joint, ran his fingers along the frame, paused, then stood. This is precision work, he said. A craftsman made it. Hastings asked, could poison be placed during the meal? Yes, easily. In food or drink? Both are possible. Poirot paced, then stopped, faced the table, arms behind his back. Hugh sat here. He tapped the chair. His wineglass here. He marked the spot with his cane. The drawer just beneath. He turned. No one else had this position? No, said the butler. Always Sir Hugh at the head. Poirot looked again. The placement was perfect. A single pull, a pinch of powder, dropped in without notice. He stood silent, focused, still. Hastings whispered, So, this is it? Poirot nodded once. He spoke softly. Only someone close would know this exists. His desk was perfect. Too perfect. Poirot entered the office. Victor Grayson stood, extended his hand. Poirot ignored it. Hastings remained near the door, notebook ready. "Mr. Grayson," Poirot said, "your time, please." "Of course," Grayson replied. Smooth voice, measured tone. "You were Sir Hugh's solicitor?" "Yes, his cousin as well." "Family came first. Handled his estate?" "Every detail." "Since when?" 7 years. Poirot glanced around. Files neat. Books aligned. No dust. Too neat. "You received access to all financial records?" "Yes." "Personal and legal?" "Yes." Poirot stepped to the desk, opened a folder, scanned a ledger. No reaction from Grayson. "These entries," Poirot said, "were they verified?" "Of course. All documented." Poirot flipped a page. Stopped. Read underlines. "Unexplained withdrawals. Thousands missing," he said. "Explain." Grayson didn't blink. "Edward Langston. He took funds. You allowed it." "I was unaware at the time." Poirot closed the file. "You didn't notice?" "Not immediately." "You missed red markings?" "They weren't there then." "You keep duplicates?" "Yes. Show me." Grayson walked to a cabinet, unlocked it, pulled out another ledger. Same dates, different numbers. Poirot compared marked difference. "You altered these?" "No. They reflect corrections." Poirot turned a page. No initials, no notes. No audit trail. Grayson stayed silent. "You were in charge," Poirot said. "Yes." "And responsible?" "Yes." "Did Sir Hugh question you?" "Not directly, but he noticed delays." "You discussed it?" "Briefly." Poirot stared. "You feared exposure." "I did nothing wrong." Poirot looked at Hastings. Hastings nodded. "Your name appears on investment documents," Poirot said. "Yes." "Venture properties, trading schemes." "Normal dealings." "Funded by estate money?" "No." Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Where did the funds come from?" "My own accounts." Poirot placed both ledgers on the desk, side by side. "Mr. Grayson," he said, "did you profit from Edward's theft?" "No." "Did you help cover it?" "No." "Did Sir Hugh discover something?" "I don't know." "Did he threaten to act?" "No." "Did you see him the night he died?" "Yes." "Before the dinner?" "We spoke briefly." "About what?" Grayson hesitated. "Nothing important." "Any tension?" "No." "Any raised voices?" "No." Poirot stepped closer. "You were calm at the funeral." "I grieve differently." "Were you in the dining room before the guests arrived?" "Yes, helping with arrangements." "I reviewed the seating." "You touched the table." "Briefly." Poirot stared at his hand. "It trembles." Grayson clenched his fist. "I resent that, monsieur." "The tea was steeping. So were the lies." Poirot sat, teacup untouched, notebook closed. Hastings waited, silent, watching. Poirot spoke. "One by one they hide behind reason. Each claims innocence." He held up one finger. "Lady Margaret, cold, proud, but no gain. She blames Beatrice, but motive is pride." Second finger. "Edward, weak, desperate, stole money, but Hugh forgave him." Third finger. "Amelia, quiet love, no anger, no plan." Fourth finger. "Dr. Sinclair, logical, controlled, access to drugs, but no link to profit." Fifth. "Grayson, calm mask, financial access, missing funds." Poirot leaned back. All had opportunity, but only one had all three: opportunity, motive, and access. He looked at the floor. Arsenic was slow, gradual. Smart Hastings spoke, but not noticeable. Poirot nodded. "It mimics illness, disguises itself." He stood, walked to the window, spoke without turning. "Mithridates, king of Pontus, trained his body with poisons. Slow immunity, a known method." Hastings asked, "You think someone reversed it?" Poirot turned. "Yes. Used the same strategy, to kill slowly. One drop at a time? Yes. Over weeks. Then, final dose. In the drawer? Yes. Placed with precision." Poirot moved to the desk, opened his notes, read quietly. He spoke again. The tonic, harmless, but symptoms built. Doctor missed them. Hugh trusted everyone, Hastings said. Exactly, Poirot replied. And one of them used that trust. Hastings paced. So it was planned? From the beginning, Poirot said. Beatrice was framed. Poirot nodded. Books, behavior, too obvious. So Grayson? Poirot didn't answer. He tapped his pen. Once, twice, stopped. Why poison? Poirot asked. Clean, distant, leaves no trace if done well. He reviewed the drawer design again. Someone close, someone who knew the table. Family, or solicitor, but who handled the drawer? Only one person knew where to press. Poirot pointed to a diagram, marked X on the leg. The drawer was built for concealment, he said, used precisely once. Hastings asked, what next? Poirot folded the paper, placed it inside the folder. Everyone had something to lose. Only one had something to hide. He stood still, hands behind back, eyes closed. Silence. Poirot opened his eyes. He said quietly, We summoned them all. No one spoke. Even the fireplace waited. Poirot stood, hands clasped, eyes sharp. Hastings stood near the door. Lady Margaret sat stiffly. Edward crossed his arms. Amelia looked down. Dr. Sinclair blinked slowly. Grayson checked his watch. Poirot began, I thank you all for coming. Silence. You were present the night Sir Hugh died. You each claim to know nothing. But someone here lies. No reaction. Poirot stepped toward the center. I do not guess. I do not speculate. I observe. He pointed. Lady Margaret, you saw him collapse. You said his hand went to his throat. She nodded once. Edward, you feared exposure, but you were too obvious. Edward frowned. Miss Thornton, you loved in silence, but you did not kill. She looked away. Dr. Sinclair, you missed the signs, or ignored them. Sinclair flinched. Mr. Grayson, you smiled too much. Grayson stiffened. Poirot continued. I examined the scene. I studied the ledger entries. I listened. He paused. I asked myself, who would use poison? Who would do so slowly, carefully? He looked at each of them. The answer, someone who needed time. Someone who feared confrontation. Someone who needed Sir Hugh gone, but unnoticed. Still silence. Poirot walked to the side of the room, lifted a small cloth from the table. Underneath, the wooden drawer piece. Gasps. Eyes widened. This, Poirot said, was hidden in the dining table. No one noticed it. He pulled open the drawer, held up a folded white handkerchief. Inside, a dusted trace of powder. Arsenic, he said. Residue confirmed. Grayson leaned forward. Lady Margaret froze. Amelia's lips parted. Sinclair adjusted his collar. Edward looked at the floor. Poirot spoke calmly. This drawer opens only one way. A soft press beneath the central leg. Precision work. He moved back to center. Sir Hugh was poisoned slowly. His symptoms were dismissed, but his fate was sealed. Hastings stepped forward, held out the report. Poirot didn't take it. He didn't need it. I know the who. I know the how. He pointed to the drawer. To understand the why. Poirot paused. You must first know who built this. Each face flinched as he spoke their secrets aloud. Poirot stepped forward, hands behind back. He pointed at Lady Margaret. You despised Beatrice, he said, not for what she did, but for what she changed. She didn't answer. You hated losing control of your son. But that is not murder. He turned to Edward. You feared being cut off. You stole from the estate. Edward exhaled slowly. "I returned some," he muttered. "But not all," Poirot said. "You were reckless, yes, but not calculated." Poirot pointed at Amelia. "You hid your love. But love, however painful, is not poison." She looked away. Poirot faced Dr. Sinclair. "You missed the pattern, either by mistake or by routine." Sinclair stood still. "Your clinical distance removed you from guilt, but also from involvement." Poirot turned slowly, now to Mr. Grayson. Grayson shifted in his chair. "You managed the estate. You kept the books. You corrected entries. You delayed the audits. You had time, tools, knowledge." Grayson opened his mouth, but Poirot raised a hand. "Not yet," he said. Poirot stepped to the center. "All 5 of you had motive. All 5 had access. But motive without method is not murder. Access without reason is not guilt." He walked toward the drawer again. It was built after the table was purchased. Installed with care. Not a spontaneous act. He tapped the edge. The builder knew Hugh's habits. Knew he sat here every time. Knew the drawer would be beneath his glass. Poirot turned. "Lady Margaret," he said, "you didn't know it existed." "You never approached this side of the table." She nodded. "Edward?" "Never." "Amelia?" "Never." "Doctor?" "No." "Grayson?" He didn't respond. Poirot's voice sharpened. "You moved the seating plan the night of the dinner. You reviewed the arrangements." Grayson cleared his throat. "I was helping." Poirot shook his head. "You insisted." He turned to the others. "All of you feared Hugh for different reasons, but only one knew how to silence him." He raised one finger. "The thefts?" Grayson could hide them. Second finger. "The drawer?" Grayson had tools and time. Third finger. "The poison?" He had access to the doctor's prescription trail. Hastings stepped forward. "Victor Grayson," Poirot said, "you stood to lose everything." Poirot's voice dropped. But only one had everything to lose, and a secret to protect. The mask he wore didn't survive the silence. Victor Grayson leaned back, arms crossed. But his knuckles were white. Poirot didn't sit. He faced him directly. "You altered estate ledgers," Poirot said. "Years of siphoned funds. Hugh discovered the inconsistencies." Grayson smiled faintly. Calm. Too calm. "He never confronted me," he replied. "No," Poirot said, "but he left notes, in his study, handwritten, undated, but clear." Grayson blinked, just once. "You called it minor borrowing," Poirot continued, "but it was theft, structured, layered through multiple properties." Hastings held up 2 folders, identical ledgers, different numbers. "Edward took money," Poirot said, "but he didn't hide it." "You did." Grayson's fingers tapped the chair. Quiet, tense. "You built the drawer," Poirot said. "Custom work. You hired a cabinet maker. Off the books. He's vanished now." Grayson didn't respond. Poirot walked to the center table, tapped it with his cane. "Drawer opens only one way, pressed from underneath, directly where Hugh sat." "Coincidence?" Poirot asked. "No." He looked at the others. "None of you knew the drawer existed. But Grayson did. He installed it." Poirot turned. "The poison came in drops, mixed with residue from a powder compound. Smuggled inside legal courier envelopes. Clean, small, easy to deny." Hastings stepped forward, produced a small white packet. "Found in your locked drawer," he told Grayson. Grayson's jaw tightened. Poirot continued. "You entered the dining room before dinner. Checked seating. Touched the table. Loaded the final dose. You counted on chaos," Poirot said. "A public collapse. Fast burial. No suspicion. But Hugh didn't die immediately. He gasped, reached, drew attention. You panicked. You didn't expect a slow reaction. Poirot's voice lowered. You had time to escape suspicion. But then the autopsy happened, and Beatrice was the easy target. Grayson's smile faded. His eyes dropped. Sir Hugh was going to replace you, Poirot said. Already contacted another solicitor. You were out. You had motive, access, and a failing grip on power. Grayson exhaled. The sound broke the tension. Poirot watched him closely. You used law to protect yourself, until it became your weapon. The room stayed silent. No one interrupted. You said nothing at the funeral, Poirot added. You watched. Grayson's fingers twitched. Poirot took one step forward. And now, Grayson's breath hitched. He leaned forward, voice hoarse. For the first time, Beatrice blinked toward the light. The courtroom was quiet. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Beatrice sat, back straight, face calm. Poirot remained still. Hastings stood behind him. No one spoke. The prosecutor rose, paused, looked toward the judge. Your Honor, he said, the Crown withdraws all charges. No further evidence supports prosecution. Whispers spread. Gasps followed. Beatrice didn't move. The judge nodded once. Motion granted. He turned to Beatrice. You are free to go. Silence returned. She stood, walked. No hesitation, no chains this time. Poirot stepped into the aisle, met her eyes. She stopped. He said, Justice is slow. She replied, but it arrived. Hastings approached. Congratulations, madam. She didn't smile, only nodded. Outside, reporters swarmed. Beatrice ignored them. She kept walking. Poirot and Hastings followed. No words exchanged. A car waited. Hastings opened the door. She entered first. Poirot joined her. He spoke. You were calm throughout. I had to be, she said. They would have used emotion against me. You never doubted the outcome. I doubted everything. Except you. Poirot didn't answer. She continued. I thought about Hugh. Every night. He trusted the wrong person. And I trusted no one. You trusted him, Poirot said. Yes, and I paid for it. The car stopped. They exited. Beatrice looked up at the sky. Blank expression. You will return to Langston? Poirot asked. No, she said. That place was his. She stepped forward. Poirot remained still. I lost more than a husband. I lost my silence. He tilted his head. You were silent. Yes, she said. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. About his family. About the fear. About the weight. Poirot's tone softened. You do not owe anyone more silence. She looked straight ahead. You gave me back my name, she said, but not who I was. No, Poirot replied. That person is gone. They stood still. Now what will you do? He asked. She didn't answer. Not immediately. Hastings stepped aside, sensing the moment. Beatrice took a slow breath. She faced Poirot. Voice steady, eyes clear. Now, she said, I write my own story. I had no choice. The books knew everything. They always did. Poirot stepped inside. Books lined the walls. No dust, no cobwebs. Everything, placed with intent. Beatrice stood by the desk. She gestured to a chair. Poirot sat. No longer Langston Estate, she said. I've renamed it. What is it now? The Langston Sanctuary. Poirot looked around. Why books? Because paper listens, she said, and ink never interrupts. He nodded, slowly. You will live here alone? No, she replied. Writers, survivors, women with stories, they'll come. You trust them? I'll read their words first. Poirot raised an eyebrow. She smiled, faintly. Justice was not enough, she said. Now I choose purpose. Poirot leaned forward. You believe you can erase the past? No, she said. I plan to publish it. He looked curious. You will name names. I'll name systems. You don't want revenge. I want clarity. For them. For me. Poirot remained quiet. She walked to the shelf, pulled out a thin black journal, handed it to him. He opened the cover. Empty pages, no title. What is this? My beginning, she said. No more dictated stories. I write my truth. He closed the book, handed it back. You are not who you were, he said. No, she replied, and that's the point. Poirot stood, looked once more at the room. Strong lines, firm choices. You have rebuilt something, he said. I destroyed nothing. They did. He didn't argue. Will you visit again? She asked. If invited. You are. Poirot gave a small nod, then turned to leave. She stopped him. One question, she said. Did you always know it was Grayson? No, Poirot replied, but I knew he lied well. She stepped closer. Do you think others knew? Possibly, he said, but silence is safer than truth. She nodded, then returned to her desk. Poirot paused at the door. You were never weak, he said, only surrounded. She didn't respond. As he opened the door, she said, There are still other shadows, Monsieur Poirot. The fire crackled. Poirot's thoughts did not. Poirot sat in his chair, hands folded, eyes closed. The case was over, but his thoughts stayed active. Across from him, Hastings poured tea. Quiet at last, Hastings said. Poirot didn't answer. You did it again, Hastings added. Poirot opened one eye. No celebration, he said. No joy. Hastings tilted his head. You cleared her name. Yes, but what of the rest? The greed? The silence? Hastings leaned back. They paid the price. Poirot shook his head. No, mon ami. One confessed. The others walked free. They weren't guilty. They were complicit. Hastings frowned. You believe they all knew? I believe they saw enough, and said nothing. Poirot stood, walked slowly to the window. Rain tapped lightly. He spoke softly. Evil rarely shouts. It whispers, moves gently, disguises itself. He turned around. Grayson planned it well, but others protected him with inaction. Hastings looked uncertain. They were afraid. Of what? Truth? Shame? Poirot resumed his seat. You once asked me what makes a criminal, he said. Hastings nodded. I answered, desire, but I was wrong. He paused. It is not desire, it is justification. They always believe they deserve what they take. Hastings said he thought it was survival. Poirot replied, and Hugh paid the price. Silence again. Poirot reached for his notebook, opened it. Blank page. He didn't write. Hastings asked, Will you take another case? Poirot nodded, slowly. Yes, but not tonight. You're tired? Poirot smiled faintly. But even the little gray cells rest. He stood once more, paced 3 steps, then stopped. Hugh Langston was not a fool, he said. He saw it coming? Poirot nodded. Yes, but too late. He returned to his chair. I wonder how often that happens, he whispered. They see the truth just before the end. Hastings didn't reply. Poirot leaned back. They all sat at the table, he said. None of them saw the drawer, but one did. He exhaled. I often ask myself, how many more go unseen? The fire cracked. The room stayed warm, but his mind remained cold. Hastings poured another cup. Poirot declined with a hand gesture. He closed the notebook. There is one detail, he said. What's that? He looked to the fire. I wonder if Beatrice will write what really happened. Hastings smiled. She's free now. Yes, but freedom carries burden. He stared into the flames. The world always forgets. Poisoners rarely look like monsters.